Welcome, my good people. Welcome to the CJ Moneyway Show. It's your boy CJ Moneyway. Today I have two special guests. Welcome to the show. Number one, international selling authors of the book Unbreakable Marriage, Marriage Mentors, Pastor and First Lady Sam. How you guys doing?
We're doing great, CJ.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys can come to the show today. Um, so before we get started, I just want to ask a question. Tell us, what is the process like of being marriage counselors?
Hmm. I mean, how did we end up becoming
Yeah,
married?
like when you guys go into a marriage session,
Oh,
like
okay.
how's the preparation that you
Yeah,
guys do before you? Cause I know everybody's situation is different, but I
yeah,
know you guys have to stay on probably the same course and go with the same mentality. How's that process?
yeah. Well, basically, our process begins with the free consultation,
Mm-hmm.
and so we get the couple to fill out a questionnaire ahead of time. Just some few simple questions, a little bit about their background, what in their opinion or from their perspective, led to where they're at right now,
Mm-hmm.
and what are they looking for, like what kind of changes do they want to see in their marriage. And we just ask one probing question, and that is, like, are there any exceptional circumstances that we need to know about, like, are you battling any addictions, did you experience any trauma, tragedies, that type of thing. And so that basically gets us started into a conversation that will go deep.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and based on where they're at, what they've been through, then what we do, CJ, is we do not do counseling sessions,
Mm-hmm.
because we have a whole mentorship process.
Okay.
And so we're basically trying to see, when we meet with a couple, because most couples that come to us are like two steps away from divorce court. And so yeah, so at that point it's like like if they really are motivated and both of them are willing to do the work it takes, then at that point we say, hey guys, this is where you're at, this is where you want to be, this is
Mm-hmm.
the process that's going to take you there. And here are the steps along the way. Are you willing to make a commitment? It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
After the initial, the visit or meeting with the couple, then we do an assessment. It's a fairly detailed assessment that tells them exactly where their marriage at. Then we can kind of cater everything accordingly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a well-known assessment. It's called the Prepare Enrich assessment. It was actually developed by a group of Christian psychologists, sociologists, pastors, etc., counselors, and so it's very, very accurate,
Okay.
in finding out where people are at in areas like communication,
Mhm.
conflict resolution, financial management, the sexual relationship, the impact of family and friends, and so on. And so most of them, by the time they come to us, tank on virtually all of those areas.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can imagine. So let me just ask a question. This wasn't on my list, but just listening to you guys, like, what is one of the main things that you guys get as far as getting that close to divorce? A lot of times I hear that it's communication.
Oh, absolutely. People have either stopped communicating or they cannot communicate without getting into an argument or a fight. They get to a point where they don't believe the partner can say anything that is good or redemptive, and so anything that they say is often misunderstood.
Mhm.
Yeah, so yeah, a lot of communication. Communication is at the heart of a lot of the issues, that they face. Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing, CJ, is also the baggage that they bring in.
Mhm.
All the trauma, the abuse, all the unhealed hurts, from the past. It can go back up to the childhood, and they bring it along, and that's how they see their spouse through those
Yeah,
lenses.
yeah, and they
And
get triggered easily.
yeah.
So they may have grown up in a household, where the mother, treated them a certain way. Then
Mhm.
all of a sudden, the wife treats the husband in a certain way, and he gets mad at her, all sometimes, almost in a very exaggerated way. And she's like, I didn't think I did anything that bad. But what he's doing is he's still got some unhealed wounds from his
Mhm.
from his mother,
Yeah.
but he
Mhm.
takes it out on his wife. And so we have to become, and of course, not everybody is aware of these things.
Yeah.
And so we have to make them aware that, yes, your problem may be that you're not talking to each other, that you can't touch each other, all those kind of things, but there are some deep-rooted issues that we need to address, rather than just teaching you, how to communicate.
Exactly.
Because before we can teach you how to communicate, you must want to communicate.
Yeah.
And that is the deeper work that needs to be done.
Yeah, I can understand that a little bit, because there's sometimes some things that we hold close to the chest, and so that we don't talk about it, and so now, like you guys saying, I don't know what your issue is, you don't know what my issue is, but it comes from years ago. That was a good one, Miss Sam's baggage. I like that. So what are some of the most important keys to sustaining a long-term relationship? Somewhat like you guys, 40 years plus, and congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, in one word, it is the habits that you practice on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
And the patterns that you establish, they can be healthy, or they can lead to, like a breakdown, eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And so once you take care of those, and we help people to examine what those habits are that they brought into it, but more importantly, we teach them some healthy habits that will actually, like the way we phrase it, is it's habits that. Sorry about that. My phone over there is doing something.
That's all right.
Where am I here? Okay. There. Sorry. You know what? I'm going to put a little notifications thing here. Oh, boy, somebody's very persistent.
Somebody needs some counseling.
must be or could be a telemarketer who's desperate to make a sale. Yeah. So the way we phrase it is, your habits will shift the spiritual atmosphere in your marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when people come to us, the atmosphere is usually very toxic, in their homes, and that's why they cannot see anything, good in each other.
Mm-hmm.
And more often than not, the toxicity has to do with certain habits that they have developed over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And what do I mean by habits? Habits might be as simple as not praising each other, not appreciating each other,
Mm-hmm.
Always looking for the negative in each other, criticizing, condemning, complaining, comparing, all those things are toxins.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have to teach them how to replace all of that, and come from a Christian perspective. Quite often we find that even Christian couples are not used to praying together. They don't read the Bible. Some of the basic things.
Yeah. Also, I think letting our partner know that they are the number one in your life, it would be very helpful. It will help sustain, like you said, the marriage. Lots of times, especially when you have little kids, we forget, all the attention goes on the children, and we forget to, take time for each other. So those are important things. Date nights, we still do that. We didn't do it in the beginning, but it's very important to make time for each other. And
which again is really a healthy habit that you build in. Then that becomes such a part of your life that if you didn't do it, you'd think something was wrong. And so that's the well. Let me even backtrack one second, CJ. One of the things that we are finding, sadly, is that most couples, including Christian couples, are going into marriage without being adequately prepared for it. And so when some wind of adversity blows, when they start getting into a fight, quite often they don't know how to handle it properly. So they either blow up, or they shut up, and neither one is healthy. And so to go into your marriage, with the tool bucket, where you can pull out some things as you go along, can go a long way, towards avoiding breakdown.
Yeah, I believe you with that, Pastor. I've always heard, and I think I heard George Meyer say this some years ago, and it just stuck with me. She said, you got to go into this thing on a solid foundation. If the a foundation isn't solid, no matter how much you try to build on it, it's gonna come down at some point because it was some cracks in the
Mm,
foundation. So
Yeah.
exactly.
and so I took that to heart. So because I'm listening to what you're saying about that, and so like me and my wife, and that's something that we do. Well, I work rotating shifts, but we make time for each other. Well, we would
Mm,
have date nights on like Saturdays when I was off, and we would watch movies and or
yeah,
our favorite TV shows and things of that nature. So I do agree with you guys that that is important,
yeah.
because like Miss Sam said that a lot of times we take the attention to the kids. And matter of
Mm.
fact, Pastor, I was just telling somebody this the other day. I said we know the well, as far as Christians, those that's in the word, we know what the pecking order is. But
Yes.
at the same time, don't be fighting with the kid to try to get attention.
Yeah.
Like if she fixed the kid plate first, don't sit up there and get mad like, oh, you supposed to fix my plate first. I'm the man of the house, this and that. Like, come on,
Yeah.
man.
Well, at our age, we realize that there comes a stage where the kids are no longer going to be part of your life on a
Exactly.
regular basis,
Hmm.
Yeah.
but you still got each other.
Mm-hmm.
And if you focus way too much on the children and neglected each other, then you'll end up like, who's the stranger that I'm living with?
Exactly. Exactly. That's some good points right there. So on top of that, let's talk about your number one international best-selling book, The Unbreakable Marriage.
Sure. So I'll tell you the way the book came about was actually, we were mentoring married couples and having a tremendous success rate. Like we are actually very confidently we can say that 100% of the couples that went through our mentorship process and did everything that we taught them to do
Mm-hmm.
and maintained it got a breakthrough. And so I was telling a coach that I was working with, I wanted to talk to him about, how can we expand our reach? Because up to that point, we were getting all of our clients through referrals. And so he said to me, guys, you have something phenomenal, that you're working with. And if you're just going to be working with couples and they're the only ones that know about this process, you're really well, shortchanging the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, many couples can actually grab a hold of what you're offering. So he said to us, this is a no-brainer. You have to write a book,
Mm-hmm.
and in the book, you have to share everything that you do, so that if somebody picks up the book, and maybe you have to create something of a companion workbook and so on, but they'll be able to get the same breakthrough if they apply themselves the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how we ended up writing the book.
Yeah, it's basically the process of our mentorship, this right from the beginning till the end. Yeah. Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, so let me ask you a question on top of that. So when we first started, you say that a lot of times when people come to you guys, they almost two steps from divorce. So how much of an effect does the book have on people that's maybe in a somewhat stable relationship, but it could be better?
Well, the book has something for everybody. As a matter of fact, one of the groups that we find using the book is actually couples who are engaged
Mm-hmm.
and just waiting to get married, because now our book can serve as a marriage manual for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so they actually go into marriage developing some good habits. Now, if somebody's been married for a while, like most of us get into habits and patterns
Mm-hmm.
that we may not have started with. And so all of a sudden to pick up the book, it'll say, oh, there's something that we should be doing. We haven't been doing that. There's a good way that we can handle conflict, that nobody taught us,
Mm-hmm.
and so on. So there are things that anybody can pick up from the book. And as a matter of fact, one of the things that we did, and then this, CJ, this generation doesn't like to read a lot.
No,
We have a YouTube generation.
yeah.
And so one of the things we ended up doing was actually create an e-course
Hmm.
where we share the content of the book in video form. And
Okay.
so people can watch the videos together, do some exercises,
As
right?
in a group, yeah, group setting.
Group setting, or even as a couple individually. As a matter of fact,
Hmm.
the best way to get the most out of our book, e-course, audiobook, whatever it is is to actually partner with another couple.
Mm.
And it's even better if one couple is fairly new in marriage, maybe 1 or 2 years, and the other couple's been married for like 10 years or longer, has seen some things, been through some things. And together, if they would go through our curriculum in book form or e-course form, well, two things happen. First of all, when you're in an accountable relationship with somebody, you will get it done.
Yeah.
If you just try to do it on your own, one day, like somebody might, your favorite team might be playing that day.
Yeah.
And so I know that's the time we set aside for our session, but watching the Bears is more important, right? And so people can get distracted. But if you make a commitment to someone else, and both of them keep the commitment, you will go through it. And by the time you go through it, not only do you get all the contents, all the strategies, all the insights, but you've also developed a good friendship with another couple.
Exactly.
So they know you, you know them. And when you run into some kind of an issue after finishing this process, you got somebody that you can turn to and talk to. And I don't know if any of your pastors are listening to this, but that's a great strategy that you can use as a pastor in your church. So you don't have to handle every time somebody has a problem with their marriage. You raise up some other people in your congregation to be marriage mentors.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, that's a real good idea. So I was reading. Okay, so let me ask you this. So what is behind the inspiration where I was reading where it said that you guys want to save over 50,000 marriages, marriage couples over the next 5 years?
Well, it actually came to me one day. I was just, spending some quiet time with God, and it felt like God saying very clearly, just after the book was published, it says, like, the reason for this book being published is not for you to sell a lot of books. It's for you to use the contents of this book to save 50,000 marriages from divorce in the next 5 years. And I was actually shocked because we work with couples one-on-one, so we cannot handle, more than a few couples at a time.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, and I didn't get the revelation right away, but after a while, God gave me, both of us more strategies of how we could go about doing it. So one of them was by raising up other people who could do what we are doing right now. So we train them and we teach them how to do the same marriage mentorship that we're doing. Another strategy that God gave us was what we talked about earlier: work with couples before they get married. So now you're preventing them from ever getting to the place of breaking down, or even prepare them for the marriage so they never get to the repair stage of their marriage, and so on, right?
Or even train couples like you talked about before in churches, so that they can in turn disciple other couples who are maybe just married for a year or two. That's how it's going to expand. We are slowly getting invited to different churches. We were invited to a family camp in another province this summer. So we are hoping this way it will grow. And
And one of the things that really kind of gnaws at me is that the divorce rate within the church is often not that much different from what it is on the outside. And so we can't do anything about people outside the church, but we have at least some influence over people who are within the church. And so if we can get people within the church to get their marriages back on track, then start off their marriage by building something that is healthy and lasting, then we can set an example. Like one of the challenges I give to pastors is how would you like to be able to put up a sign that says we have a 0% divorce rate in our church? Like that'll get the attention of everybody. Whether they're believers or not, they'll say that's impossible. How can you have that when outside it's over 50%? And so now people will be drawn to a church like that, or drawn to a couple who's got their marriage together, who treat each other well, and somebody else can very clearly see, like, this couple's got something there. You want to know what that is. So part of that's part of the motivation, is really to make sure that we set a good example. And Sloan used a very good term, and that is discipling couples. which unfortunately, I mean, I was a pastor for 35 years. We never did. We never had that revelation of having one couple disciple another couple. We had, people discipling each other,
Mm-hmm.
but not as couples for their marriage. Wow, like that could make a tremendous difference.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I get it because you do have other couples in the church. I can think about my church that's been, have long marriages and have sustained marriages for a long period of time. That if they were to be mentored in that aspect, that because we always try to do it anyway.
Yeah,
Like if you see a younger couple and you talk to them and try to like, hey, yeah, the first couple years is kind of rough, but like you
Yeah.
said earlier, a lot of times, especially now, like you say, this whole generation, we're a little different. And so the first sign of trouble is like, you know what, I'm out of here. And so so you do try to encourage people, that like some of the younger people and things of that nature. But I like the idea that you guys have. You have a manuscript, that a
Mhm.
blueprint
yeah.
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
people can go by,
Mhm.
Exactly.
and that's been tried and true. So I pray that you guys will get that out to more people, and that it'll
Mhm.
fluctuate in more churches,
Yes.
and
Amen.
everybody get on that page.
Hmm.
So what are some of the challenges that you guys have faced over the 40 years of marriage?
Okay, I'll let you go first. Because I was the one who
Jim
created.
went first on every other question, but he said you go first on
Yeah,
this.
because I created a lot of challenges for her. So
I think
Oh.
one of the biggest challenges we faced is with our finances.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. See, Jiva handled all the finances all the time, and I
when I was single before we got married.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So it continued when
yeah.
we got married. It continued, and I worked, but I never really wanted to know or paid attention to what's happening with the money.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I just trusted him. So it came, and then eventually, we had children. We have, three children. I knew, things were not good, but he didn't tell me. So all of a sudden, I found out all the credit cards have been maxed out, and we were in deep trouble. So that's when we decided to take a course
Mm-hmm.
on how to, yeah, handle steward
Yeah, you,
the
you, you've probably
income.
heard about Dave Ramsey,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
Financial Peace University.
Okay.
Well, part of what happened was like we were both raised with very different philosophies, and this is where like your childhood, and not just in terms of trauma and that type of thing, but also the patterns that you see that you observe from your own family. You don't even think that you're learning it, but you are.
Mm-hmm.
And so in Slojan's family, her father was very strict with his money, in that his philosophy was, if we don't have the money, we don't buy anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's as simple as that. And that went all the way from buying groceries to buying a house.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was his philosophy. I was raised with not a like a philosophy where you just go spend, 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 and get into debt, but it was more like if you need something and you know that you're going to be able to pay it off, then it's okay to go into debt.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so now I took that to a little bit more of an extreme, where after a while I just kind of lost track. I
Mm-hmm.
just kept on, like to me, if I had room in my credit card, that meant I could afford it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really perverted way of thinking, and so so eventually, it did, cause those problems, and the clash, between the ways in which we were raised to think about money had a lot to do with it. And so she was always saying, we got to save, we got to save, we got to save.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no, we got to, pay off these things first before we can save. And so eventually we thought, like we're fighting too much about
Mhm.
money. It's not that we didn't have enough of it,
Mm-hmm.
but we were not handling what we had properly. And
Mm-hmm.
so we said we have to get the independent, opinion or help of someone, who would not take my side or her side,
Mm-hmm.
but also be biblical, in what they taught. And so at that point, because I listened to Dave Ramsey on Christian radio quite a bit, and I'd heard about the Financial Peace University, we thought, okay, there's something that we can both take. So we made a decision that we will take his program, and we may not fully agree with everything he teaches, but we're not going to bring it up, right? Because we're just going to do it for a year and see how it turns out. And it basically turned out to be a lifesaver for finances.
Yeah. We got out of debt, and yeah.
So it opened up everything else in you guys' life too, huh? So was this before you were pastor or after?
No, this was like, I don't know how many years into marriage.
Oh, after we were
parents.
Yeah.
Parents, after we were parents, sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.